What is going on, guys? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and I'm back again with some more information that we've garnered from TGS in regards to DMC5. Now, there's a bunch of things that did come out yesterday, but they were sort of minor things that I don't think really warranted their own sort of video. So again, this is just going to be another sort of information roundup video. So it's going to be fairly long. There's going to be a lot to dive into. For those of you who don't know, Capcom have essentially they have this sort of mini campaign that's been going on throughout TGS, where every day they'll talk about different things in regards to DMC5. They'll put out new information here and there, just to build the hype, you know. So you see something one day and you're like, oh wow, you know, that's great, and then you know that the next day there'll be something else to look forward to. Now, obviously, considering this is Tokyo Game Show, it's sort of garnered, I guess, aimed at Japanese fans. So obviously they're all going to be speaking, you know, the native language, Japanese. Makes sense, fair enough, but obviously it means that it takes a little while longer for us to get information, considering it has to be translated. So a lot of things have been translated. So first of all, I'd like to give a big shout out to the DMC subreddit. They've done a lot of work in terms when it comes to translating things. So shout out to them. Shout out to the DMC5Info Twitter account. They've been doing plenty for the fan base. They've been doing a lot of translations. So shout out to them. And shout out to those of you in the DMC era Discord session in particular who's been doing a lot of translating. So yeah, without further ado, now that the shout outs and the proper credit has been given, let's just delve right in. So first off, we got a lot of Dante gameplay to dive into here. Now, yesterday there was sort of I wouldn't say leak, but off-screen gameplay from a panel that we got, which I posted yesterday as well. And then almost immediately after, we got IGN, who put out a 15-minute video. Now, the IGN video has been taken down, simply because I believe there was a cutscene, a major cutscene at the end of that video that I'm sure Capcom didn't really want sort of publicly displayed just yet. That's the only thing I could think of, considering a bunch of videos went up today, similar sort of gameplay, similar areas, but no cutscene. So that's just sort of the context for this. But to kick things off, style switching is back. So for the folks that were worried that everything would be dumbed down, fear not, that's not the case here. The complexity is there and things look insane. Now, hopping into the gameplay, there's a few things that, you know, I should probably want to discuss. So again, we've got the broken glass motif here. Standard, we saw it all throughout Nero's gameplay. A little bit less intrusive, considering it's only focused to the top left corner here. But we can see clearly Swordmaster, Royal Guard, Gunslinger and Trickster. They are all back. In terms of seeing other styles, you know, maybe Darkslayer or, you know, Quicksilver, something else, that remains to be seen at the moment. Considering this gameplay dropped just yesterday, or today even, it's not a lot to see. So immediately, the sprint feature is back and it kicks off immediately. That's great to see. The weapon that Dante obviously has equipped is Balrog. The gauntlet and greave sort of devil arm that allows you to change stance. So he's in Swordmaster here. You can see here he's cycling through the weapons, likely going to be attached to the right trigger or R2 button, and the same can be said for the guns. You'll see that. So obviously we've got Rebellion, Balrog, and then over here we seem to have the Cavaliere weapon, which again translates to knight, I believe, in Italian. I guess that's an advantage of being multilingual. You can sort of know things. But that's the bike weapon, and we're going to see how that came to be at the end later on in this video. So we see these enemies. We've seen them before. They seem to have the purple tentacle thing to them. again, throughout this video, the Dante's theme was switched from Subhuman back to Devil Trigger. Capcom obviously have officially stated after the big backlash and the whole pedophilia thing, they're just like, yeah, we didn't know this was happening, so we've just distanced ourselves from that, and they're looking to replace or remove it. So good for Capcom, but obviously Devil Trigger here is a placeholder theme. We've had lots of people just pop up on Twitter, atting Capcom, saying, plenty of people want to do a theme. So what will happen there remains to be seen. We don't know just yet. Obviously you've got Devil Trigger right here. Seems to have about 5 runes. Going for the very minimalist look with the health bar and stuff, which is interesting. Obviously we get the confirmation of 2 bars here. And there's a few things that we see in the gameplay. Obviously Stinger makes a return. Thank God it doesn't look like a DMC2 Stinger. But things look stylish. There's lots of nuanced animations that are kind of hard to see if you're not looking for them. You've got real hair physics on Dante, like real time, really cool. Camera seems to be great. Obviously, scenery seems to, seems to phase in and out as it gets closer and closer to the camera. There we see Balrog's blow stance, and then we get the Cavaliere weapons, which seem to just phase in and out. Kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy 15 in the way that Noctis's weapons would sort of phase in and out of existence there. But things are looking great. We seem to see the return of a lot of fan favorite moves from the styles. It doesn't look like anything's been omitted, which is fantastic. Again, animations are good. We get this destructible environment to mess around in. Obviously this was seen a lot in DMC DevilNeverCry, the reboot. Let me drop that down so my laptop doesn't overheat. This terrible laptop's been giving me issues. But again, so sort of little environmental puzzles where it's like you need to go and wail on some things. We see the return of Skystar there, looking fantastic, looking crisp, might I add. This is all running at a smooth 60 frames a second. And it's amazing if you ask me. So again, there's the twirl animation that Dante has whenever he takes out Ebony and Ivory. But the play is decent this time. It's not like Gamescom where a lot of the journalists were just whack, to say the least. Shout out to the dude who couldn't get past an A rank and then proceeded to complain on social media that the music for the game was terrible. Because obviously if you don't know lyrics and whatnot, the song changes essentially once you hit S rank, so clearly this journalist wasn't even able to hit S rank during gameplay. Hilarious, I know, but it's fine. We see the return of blades here, or assaults, and they look roided up to shit. They are massive. They really sell this beast aesthetic. To the left of them were the things that we once thought were the Scarecrow blades, the things that Dante shaves his face on in the TGS trailer, but no, they just seem to be some sort of spiked blades. You can see they're destructible parts of enemies, which is crazy. Maybe they won't be able to do the Beyblade move that they're doing here if you break their horns. Pretty cool. But there's lots of interesting tidbits. We see the return of a lot of moves from the previous gauntlets in the series. Obviously, that provided there's their own sort of move set, no doubt. I mean, you can even see the Balrog gauntlets do flash kicks and whatnot. So it's insane. And obviously, flash kicks from Street Fighter. Obviously, if you don't know, but I'll just mute that. Again, lots of sort of verticality to the levels here. We have yet to see a stage like sort of transition, like a load screen, which obviously the series is known for. Every time you enter a new place, there's a short load screen. But yeah, things are looking good. Obviously, that was a red orb deposit, and that seemed to be some sort of green orb like deposit potentially, as Dante here struggles to get up. But there is a section that I want to skip to here, which I believe I was just on before, which is a pretty cool throwback. You'll notice it immediately. as it just loads in here, I believe. And you get that sense of horror because the Nobodies are back and they look as grotesque and as filthy as they do in DMC 1. So that's another enemy, along with the Sin Scissors, that has returned from Devil May Cry 1. First of all, I think this is fantastic that they're pulling from the older games. And it's insane. We haven't seen these enemies since DMC 1, you know, and they are pretty tough enemies, I'm not going to lie, especially in the high difficulties. They are just tanks. They even have some of their iconic attacks. They even do one of their dropkick attacks on Dante here, which is ripped straight from Devil May Cry 1, which is fantastic. You can see the hand just engorged there. I'm not sure if they have the similar ability to grow in size, because obviously that was a thing in DMC 1. I believe if you broke the mask, no, sorry, if they put their mask on, they grow in size. Obviously you break it and they go back to their original size. But it's fantastic. Yeah, as you can see, that was the kick move. But fantastic. One thing I will point out though is, there again you also see the eyeball move, the exploding eyeball. When they die, they don't seem to decompose and explode piece by piece, which would damage you. As you can see there, that's not happening. But hey, if it's not there, it's not there. You know, it's, again, they're included, so it's fantastic. You can even see you can like take off bits and pieces of their body. So it's fairly crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Skip ahead a bit. But it is shaping up to be fantastic. I am very happy about the idea of the DMC4 system returning. A lot of people were thinking maybe they were going to do style modifiers on the triggers, but they haven't, it seems. And this is the next portion I'd like to talk about. So obviously we have these knight enemies here, sword and shield, blue cape, mysteriously blue cape, and they seem to have this Nello Angelo-like helmet to them, which is very interesting because it's like, and by the Nello Angelo helmet, you guys know what I mean. If I grab a quick image, you can clearly see the horns sort of curled inwards. Very reminiscent. If you see a silhouette, you know exactly who that's meant to be. So if we head back to it, that's not the only thing that I want to talk about in this encounter, by the way. They do look insane. Just the sheen off their metallic armor. They do remind me of the Bianco Angelo enemies from Devil May Cry 4. I believe they even walk the same, like similarly, you know. And I believe somebody in the Discord pointed out that they have a similar attack in terms of animation, but we get Dante wailing on them here with the kick mode, or the leg mode, the shoot style or whatever. What, you've been watching too much My Hero Academia. But then again we get these bats. Now we've seen these bats in the initial trailer for DMC5, the reveal trailer, I believe. Some people kind of suggested they may be blood goyles from DMC3, but they're kind of not, considering Dante's just hitting them with his melee attack, so they're not splitting. They do kind of remind me of the fire bats from DMC2. Yes, the ones that would explode on impact with one bullet. But they were a lot smaller, so maybe they've brought them back and sort of expanded, as you see a sort of jet flame attack, looking beautiful there as the flame changes from a sort of blue purple hue all the way to a red. And this is what I wanted to focus on here. So we clearly get a sort of one-to-one Nello Angelo clone here, all the way down to the Zweihander. The big cape looks almost like 100% like him. Obviously the Zweihander's design has changed, considering, you know, there's going to be a change from a PS2 to a PS4 game, you know. But it's insane. This surprised me so much. It was ridiculous. Because it's Nello Angelo, like down to a T. Even the armor is the same. And it's like, what is happening here? Is he being made a standard enemy? Does this tie? I'd imagine this ties into the story somehow, and it makes us question Virgil's fate here, because obviously with the Bianco Angelos and the Alto Angelos before, his soul was supposedly fragmented and used to create those pieces of sentient armor. But obviously, considering they'd and obviously those fragments were found on Malay Island, obviously when the Order went and did their mysterious shit on the island. But now that that's all over and done with, you sort of think that Virgil would sort of be okay, he'd be whole again. But then again, we've got the enemy here, so it remains to be seen. He does have like similar attack at almost a spitting image, similar attack animations to DMC1. Obviously just slowed down kind of slightly, and obviously there's no that was a missed real impact, by the way, but he has no sort of blue aura. He's not throwing out meteors, but he is blocking. It's crazy. We see a little bit of a purple aura there, but obviously it's not quite the same. The enemy sort of just zoomed in and out of existence there. But you seem to take a lot of damage. I believe this is either normal or easy, because Devil Trigger heals you stupidly fast. And usually that's the case with the other DMC games. It's like easier mode, DT recovers a lot more health. As you get higher and higher, it recovers less and less health, to the point where it recovers no health once you get to the highest difficulty. So skipping ahead, sorry here. We get to the boss fight, the Cavaliere boss fight. So, running down this this road here, and we get Dante, who's quipping to himself, oh, they're gonna let me go through, that will be the day or whatever. And then we get a cutscene, but that cutscene's unfortunately skipped to shorten it down as to what happened. You're walking along, somebody throws a bike, or something throws a bike at you that is very reminiscent to the bike you see Dante ride off in DMC2. Sort of a little throwback there. Dante immediately turns around and splits it with Spada. And we get this boss, sort of like a face-off or a standoff. Dante makes quips, I believe, about the boss boss's dress sense and whatnot, and how he's going to cut him down to size. And then the boss fight kicks off. So at first, considering the lightning element and just the design of the boss, immediate thoughts go to Alistair, no doubt, right? You've got the massive wings, you've got the lightning element, you've got the sword, you'd think Alistair. But then again, at the same time, you've got a lot of those elements are very reminiscent to the Cavaliere bike weapon, so it was sort of a half and half. I was hoping that it would be Alistair. On first viewing of the trailer, I thought it would have been Alistair, but looking at it again, looking at the design in detail, it does make sense that it is the Cavaliere weapon, considering with the gameplay of the bike, there is a sort of lightning element. You sort of got the wing motif, and you've got the sort of serrated sword motif on the bike as well. So it makes sense. You've got Dante here wailing on the boss. As you can see, you can reflect attacks back using your own attacks. You don't just have to royal guard that shit. Something that's been in the series since DMC1. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, they took that from DMC DevilNeverCry, but no. If you remember, you were even able to reflect Nello Angelo and Phantom's attacks using just a standard attack. But this boss fight, I'll let you watch it in your own time. The boss is shaping up to be great. It's a humanoid boss. I love humanoid bosses. It's fast-paced. The boss has a lot of attacks, and does indeed change attack patterns when it reaches certain health thresholds. No doubt on a higher difficulty this boss will be insane, but I'll leave that off there for now. Now, if I head over to the DMC5 info Twitter account, they should have a link to the pulled IGN, what do you call it? The IGN video that was pulled. If I can find it. This is also a summary of an interview that I'll be getting into. Jesus. Was I not on the... I could have swore I'd clicked on this, but apparently I didn't. So you guys got to look at the Twitter feed. No matter. Right. Now the reason I want to look at this is simply because I just want to show you guys the cutscene that occurs right at the end. Because in a lot of the recent gameplay, it hasn't, like, it's been cut out. It's been an omission. I have a feeling maybe IGN broke an embargo of some sorts or mistakenly put that in there, but hey, what do you know? Live and learn, right? So this dude's feeling himself. I can't finish off this boss for the life of me. It takes him a full minute or 2 minutes to just shoot the dude or hit him. So obviously you defeat the boss. Dante literally just swipes half of this dude's head clean off, because that's what Dante does. This game is a lot more visceral and grotesque than the previous games. It's straight up not afraid to just show blood and gore. And there's the bike that I was talking about that was cut in half previously, and now you start to realize where this demonic bike is coming from. Dante's like, oh shit, that makes sense. And then we get a close-up of Trish, and yes, that is Trish, inside the... And the name of this boss, by the way, is the Cavaliere Angelo, which is, you know, Knight Angel, or you could, Angel Knight, however you want to say. Obviously not an angel. But you can kind of see where the lightning element stems from. And we see Dante go ham here. He's just mashing that aerial rave, weapon switching, whatnot, yada yada yada. The bike comes together, and there it is, right? You can clearly see it all makes sense now as to what the weapon actually is. Trish falls out, naked. Dante catches her. The bike comes along to the rescue. Again, Dante pulls off his little quips here and there before getting serious and is like, well, are you alright and whatnot. She's like, yeah, whatever. And you get a look at naked Trisha. Yeah, heathens. It's Suna, what are you doing now? But she seems to be attempting to tell Dante something, but Dante's having none of it. He's just like, whatever, you rest. And then you hear V come calling like a goddamn moron with his bloody bird. And Dante's just like, I'm out of here. This ain't my scene. Just look after Trish. And you know, V's just begging to meet up with Dante. He's like, fuck man, wait for me. And you know, Dante's just like, whatever. Dante seems to trust V at this point. I'm not buying it. I have a feeling he's a shady Arkham type. But that's the end of that. It is looking fantastic. It's looking solid. And I can't wait to see more. But there is more to dive into. So there was another DMC TGS stream. That happened today, in fact. Happened a lot earlier. But it's only just been translated. So major shout out to the DMC subreddit, as I said, where they have a translation of this. So I've just pulled what I can, bits and pieces here and there, just essentially to talk about what we've seen. And obviously, considering it's in Japanese, I thought I'd just make this video to help spread awareness of the translated version. So I implore you guys to check out the subreddit thread in your own time. And yeah. Let's just dive right into what we found out. So we know that V fights demons by using his cane and his book. We got confirmation of that. Potentially there's more than one book. Seeing how feeble this dude is, no doubt there has to be some sort of power that he holds, right? You've got a lady who's a human, right? And she's armed to the teeth, and she's just about holding her own against demons. You know, V being a dude with a book and a cane, you'd think there has to be something more to him, right? If he's just a human. So that's where the whole idea of being a sorcerer comes from. We've had certain leaks say he signs things, but that hasn't been 100% confirmed, so we'll see where that goes. Take note though that it says he fights using a cane in the book. Doesn't say that he's the third character, even though he probably is. I'm almost certain of him being the third playable character at this point, but because otherwise they won't be talking about him. But moving on from that, we know that Ebony and Ivory will use different kinds of bullets, which will have different effects, different sounds, and will employ their own sort of type of damage. Which, again, looking at Nero and his sort of charge shot color up for the Blue Rose, the idea of having different ammo types is cool. It makes sense. Moving on, we come to learn that obviously this RE engine is fantastic. It's doing miracles. This graphical fidelity at 60 frames a second is crazy. But then the fact that we can see blood, water, and sweat on our characters, insane. I mean, we can see where attacks hit on enemies. So I'm assuming it's probably just a similar sort of thing for the playable characters. But the attention to detail on this game is insane. The budget must have been insane. We come to find out, let me just delete those ones we've covered. So the demon tree, we get a name for it. I'm not gonna pronounce that because I'm probably gonna butcher it. Clipputh, Clyfuth, whatever you want to say, right? We know about this, and I believe we even got a reference to Nidhogg or whatnot back in the Gamescom demo. So bringing in all sorts of different types of lore and whatnot from other cultures, it's interesting, you know. We finally have a proper term for this demon tree, so what it does though and what its ultimate purpose is remains to be seen. Today's been a long day, sorry guys. They then start to talk about Nico. Apparently we're going to love her by the end of the game. This has been said before that he's hoping that she's going to become a fan favorite. And you know, again, they had the Japanese VA obviously at TGS on stage with them, so her Japanese VA and Michitaro Okabe, a producer, were like, you know, confused, but apparently ended up loving her right after the ending, you know. So maybe it's going to be a tearjerker. I mean, she totally nerds out when she sees Dante in the TGS trailer, so just goes to show what sort of character she is. But she seems likable so far. And then of course we get Itsuno with the filth, you know, filthy Itsuno, discussing that he was inspired to create Nico because of his weird fetish for being scolded by bad girls. Don't know what this is going to do for your public image, Itsuno. Don't know if this has been signed off by the PR team, but hey, you do you, man. I'm not going to judge. So Itsuno says that the script for DMC5 is super long, almost twice as long as a telephone dictionary. Now we've ever since the initial leak way back in, I believe, November or December, it discussed that there would be a ton more cutscenes and like dialogue and whatnot. Heck, we can even see throughout gameplay Dante quips to himself, so there's definitely going to be a lot more dialogue, which, you know, I'm up for that. You know, there's a reason people like Kojima's games, the wackiness along with the massive amount of cutscenes. You know, just don't overdo it. Nero supposedly calls V creepy. Something I can see Nero doing. V does look a bit outlandish, I guess you could say, but he fits in the DMC5 universe. So Nero saying that to him is funny, considering the dude's got a mechanical arm that he uses on his girlfriend or wife, whatever you want to call her. He agrees to work with V because he's apparently got a huge score to settle with that son of a bitch, which we sort of get that alluded to. We get the whole score to settle thing in the reveal trailer, but I guess we get some further context on that. They continue to go in on the crew cutscene, where we saw a little bit of that in the TGS trailer, it looks like, but supposedly immediately after that, Nico brings Nero into the workshop, tells him that she was waiting for him, and then asks Nero, obviously, what he's going to buy, trying to swindle him out of some money, just like her old grandmother. So then they discuss. So now here's the thing. So throughout the TGS presser, we saw little one-off sort of cutscenes. So, some of them we've seen before, but they seem to stretch on a little bit, showing you a little bit more context. And they were doing that when they were introducing each of the VAs. So for Dante in particular, they sort of dived into the scene that we got in the TGS trailer, where Dante pulls the cord out and starts talking to Morrison. Now, obviously Morrison's there to discuss this gig, or this job, but apparently that sort of segues into him, or Dante, asking somebody, most likely V, because I believe there is even a scene of V sort of talking to Dante, it seems, or there's just a scene of him being in the office, so that makes sense. V apparently responds saying that, now this is an important point here, V goes and says that there's a powerful demon returning to this world, and that's why he is asking for help, no doubt why he's willing to pay cash up front. He then goes on to say that this demon is the very reason why Dante fights. Now, this could potentially be alluding to Mundus. Now, Mundus is obviously the one that orchestrated everything in terms of Dante's family's murder. So he's the one that got his mother murdered, his father probably murdered, because his father just fucking disappeared. We don't know anything about him. And his brother Virgil's supposed murder, but obviously he turned out to survive. Now, of course, Mundus was sort of dealt with in DMC1, not dead, but sort of sealed away. But the main thing to sort of discuss is that he's the one that orchestrated it. He may not be the one who went about and carried out the assassination himself. There may have been a bunch of other demons that have been involved. And of course, Dante fights, to avenge his mother. Even in DMC1, that's what he's talking about. He's been running into demons. And he figured sooner or later he'd get closer and closer to the ones responsible for his mother's death. And that sort of happened in DMC1, but again, there may still be demons out there who were who'd be the ones you'd attribute all the guilt to. I'm struggling to look for a word here, man. I've been long day, doesn't matter, but I'm looking forward to whatever that may be. Is V telling the truth? Is he lying? We're not sure yet. Again, we get the whole Morrison thing, discussing how he's pretty much says the same thing he said in the reveal, talking about how you've never had this much trouble before, and boy, you're struggling now. There's a scene apparently with a lady saying that everybody managed to survive, tells Dante she's going to look around. This is, I believe, in the Demon Tree area. We see that in the trailer. We get Trish saying first come, first serve. That whole cutscene again. She explicitly tells V that to stay out of everything, considering this is Dante's battle. It's his fight to win or lose. And then last but not least, we get this this cutscene that was sort of shown in the leak and in the reveal trailer, where it's the mysterious stranger, let's just call him that, aka Virgil, everybody knows at this point, sort of confronting Nero here. And at that point, that's when Kyrie is coming down to the garage to tell Nero, yo, meal's ready to eat. Nero's just like, oh shit, turns around and is like, Kyrie, get your dumbass back inside. And then Virgil takes his opportunity to just snatch that motherfucking arm off. Don't save. But yeah, shit is interesting. And this is a review, this is an interview, my bad, that was put out by Famitsu. There's a few things here and there. I'm not going to touch upon all of them because there's lots of things that have already been touched on, or they're not that really important or interesting. But they reiterate on the 2 modes for Balrog. They sort of discuss auto mode, but they go on to say here right at the end that they created V to be this sort of well-read, well-spoken, slim young man, to contrast with Dante, who's a reckless, not reckless, but he's just a cocky old man at this point, the cool uncle, you might say. And then you've got Nero, the brash, reckless, unrefined dude who just is angry at the world, But hey, it's interesting to have this contrast, We've never really had that in a DMC game. So where that goes, who knows? The last time we had a well-spoken, well-read person, they ended up being evil. So what that means, we don't know. One interesting point, though, that I'll sort of touch upon before we finish this up. In terms of gold orbs, which this is more to do with accessibility here. So apparently the price of gold orbs won't increase the more you buy them, which is an interesting change considering in the previous games, so 4 and 3, and even 2, I believe, but I haven't played much of 2, says the man who's So in those games, it makes sense. The more you buy them, the more the price goes up, sort of as an incentive to be like, yo, get your shit together, start playing seriously, because we're just going to keep charging you more and more. Whereas in this game, it doesn't do that, which I guess kind of makes it more accessible, but then it kind of permits the lazy gameplay a bit. Depends on how well they're priced. If they're priced like low, then yeah. If they're just like ridiculously high price, but the price never changes, I can see that sort of trade-off. But they do go on to state that gold orbs will have a higher price when it comes to higher difficulties, which makes sense. Playing DMD but then having cheap gold orbs doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. So make of that what you will. I'll leave links down to all this stuff in the description so you can take a look for yourself. It has been me, DevilNeverCry. I would like to thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think. You can also join the Discord if you want to discuss what you've seen. Because obviously everything that I've discussed here I've sort of posted in the Discord before posting here. So if you want to get a sort of a first look, I guess you could say, then feel free to join and just chat with some like-minded peeps. If not, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm pretty active there. Again, I'll leave everything down in the description below. I'd just like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.